Hey, what's up guys, Ara here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and welcome to some new Grid 2019 gameplay. So it's been a while, about 3 weeks since we last spoke about the Grid 2019 game, and there we had a tiny snippet of some F1 gameplay from Fernando Alonso's Renault of 2006, the R26 I think is called, I think, if I remember correctly. And so back then we had a tiny snippet. Now we've actually got some full-on gameplay from a capture event in Grid, and here to say a massive thank you to the guys at Vloce and also FA Racing for actually being the ones that captured this gameplay. So be sure to go check out the Vloce Esports YouTube channel and also the FA Racing social accounts. I'll put some links in the comments below or the description. Go check those guys out because they will be posting their own kind of other captured stuff. They, did a whole full capture of other cars, other circuits, but in this video specifically, we're just going to be looking at the F1 car because, of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be interested in that. And from the last time we talked about it, we literally had about 10 seconds of gameplay. Like, this was the gameplay we had of the 2006 Renault gameplay. Literally, I wasn't kidding. It's a tiny bit of gameplay. Obviously, they're trying to hide it. So that wasn't a lot, obviously. Not a lot to go off, and it was a lot of guesswork, basically, of what it would handle like. So I've spoken now to the guys who captured the gameplay as well, and so we have a bit of an insight now into what the F1 car will be like, the kind of final boss, if you will. Obviously, when you do the career mode, if you don't know, there's a few different tiers of career. One of them is the FA Racing kind of challenge kind of thread, and if you do the necessary steps and win the races that you need to win to get the kind of final boss race, as it were, you get to race against Fernando Alonso, and I believe this seems to be that, essentially, going off what the menu is saying at the start. So let's roll the clip and get into it.
Welcome everybody to today's event. Kristen, what are we in for today?
A fine day for a race, Alex. I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay, hold on, sorry. It looks like things are about to get underway.
Flying away from the start there.
So here we are then at Malaysia, so obviously an old F1 circuit, no longer actually in the F1 calendar rotation here. It's a 3-lap race and we've got three of us only racing here. One of them is Fernando Alonso though, at the front there, as you would imagine. Then you've got an AI car of Nick there. Of course, we talked about the AI before. All the AI in this game are all uniquely coded with their own personalities and traits in terms of, they're aggressive or, lenient in terms of defending and attacking and how, speedy they are, what lines they might take, how aggressive they are in general, and also that's going to play into if you become their nemesis on track. If you hit them a few more times, then they will become your nemesis. And you can see here as we go down the inside of Nick, we are going to make a little bit of sparking away in side-by-side action there. Actually, really nice move to the inside of the double right-hander there, so kudos to Hayden, as it were, from Vloce that was driving this at the moment here, as we now try and chase after Fernando Alonso. But you can see, in terms of the handling, I spoke to Hayden about it in terms of he was playing on a controller. I believe they had mostly controllers available at the capture event, so he was playing on a controller. He mentioned the gameplay was tough to really see what it feel like on a wheel, but from what I can see visually speaking as well, and what I've spoken about to him about it, it seems like the game, obviously it's a grid game, so it is an arcade kind of racer. If you played the original Grid and Grid 2, Grid Autosport, you'll know the general gist of the car handling. There's a little bit of sense of realism, like you can't full on drift and gain speed like Need for Speed maybe, but it is also got a lot of arcade to it. And you can see there in the gameplay, the way the F1 car moves about, it is a bit more slidey in general than the real F1 car would drive. And you can see there, very aggressive driving from Fernando Alonso's AI to move us and push us on the left-hand side. Of course, we made it difficult for ourselves to go on the left-hand side rather than the right, but a nice side-by-side bit of action here with Fernando Alonso's AI, and I'm sure Alonso's AI is also coded as he wanted, I guess, because he was a consultant on the game, of course. And speaking about that, Codemasters actually put out a video over this last week with Alonso, talking a bit more about him having that F1 car in the game and what it means to him, and I think it's a nice insight from him from that different kind of perspective. So let's play the clip.
And regarding the game, knowing that the R26, my car is there, can you imagine drive those cars in some of the street circuit that you have here? So that's probably the one that I'm looking for most.
Are there any other memories that you really hold very dearly from your time racing with Renault at that specific point going for the World Championship?
A lot of memories from 2006. That car was perfect to start with. I remember quite well that it was the V8, the first year that the rules introduced the V8. So we have a lot of testing, we have a lot of things to deal with that engine to maximize the fuel consumption, to maximize the power and the reliability. So It was an intense season, and I'm super happy and excited that that car, which is probably the car that I have in my heart, is here in the game, and the people will experience somehow that kind of feeling.
It's going to be something really, really special, isn't it?
It was amazing to drive that car in a normal street that has been used every day for road cars. So, you know, here in the game, you can do that a little bit more safely and easier. So it's gonna be fun.
So coming back to now this gameplay at Malaysia, coming back into this race where we were, we've got 1.5 laps to go, or just over 1.5 laps to go, try and chase down Alonso once again. We've got Nick, but can we try and get Alonso for the P1 win? But as I was mentioning before we kind of delved into that Alonso clip, the handling-wise, you can clearly see the rear end is stepping out a little bit more. You know, the car is drifting almost a little bit through mid-corner. You can see side by side, we go once again with Alonso there. Nice move done, but Alonso's AI is very aggressive here, because you're about to see he's actually going to come up and try and overtake us again, because we actually extend the track. That slows us down, and so Alonso is able to come on the right hand side there, make a massive dive bomb there, and it's a real nice side by side moment as we spark away. And you can see the grass doesn't maybe affect us as much as you would think maybe on the Cody's F1 game. Apart from that, though, it's actually very, very similar to the Cody's F1 game. Obviously, the car model, I would assume they've taken it from the F1 side of things, I would say, because I don't think they'd spend time redoing it, basically, on the grid, via the grid team, essentially, there. The sound as well, very, you know, pretty much the exact same, and you can see there Alonso gets very aggressive with us, and we cut across him there, and we get a bit of a crash. But you can see the crash physics actually very nice to actually see the tyre barrier. The tyre, you can see some of the tyres actually popped out the barrier and fell into the gravel trap. So that's some really nice physics there, you've got to say. But yeah, I mean, apart from the actual visual aspects and the audio aspects, the handling definitely would be a little bit different. You can see just there, kind of the way the car kind of almost, I want to say, crabs across the like through the corner. So there is that kind of arcade tinge to it, but I still think it grips up quite nicely. You can see in the kind of higher speed corners, you won't see it right now because there's this slow speed corner through turns 1 and 2, but if you look carefully at the high speed ones, the car does seem to grip up quite a lot, like you would expect an F1 car to do. And obviously, like in the F1 game, at slower speeds, the car is a little bit more unstable. So I still think you're going to enjoy it, but you also got to come into it and, you know, just remember that it is a grid game. So, you know, if you played grid before, you know what I'm talking about. If you've never played grid before, I would suggest you maybe go back and try and play an old grid game, or just take my word for it. Of if you're coming to this game thinking about realism, you know, simulation driving, you know, like a Forza or something like that, you're not going to get that. Even Forza's not that realistic, but it's somewhat realistic, but it's not going to be like that. Grid is very much kind of leaning towards that arcade kind of just fun, good hard racing, I guess. And I didn't mention it, but as you saw on the gameplay, we can actually have some pretty cool damage, some aesthetic damage on the car, because the engine cover popped off completely. So right now what we're looking at is not a graphical glitch, it's literally just the engine, the lighting, the way the lighting hit the engine has made everything quite dark there. But the entire engine cover came off there, which I was very surprised actually. I didn't think that was going to happen in this gameplay here. And as we drift through the second last corner, we're trying to close up to the two cars here. We're actually going to do a monumental comeback drive here on Alonso and Nick. Nick's actually got the better of Alonso there. We go down the inside into the hairpin, and we just about get P1 at this race there. So I don't know if there's any rubber banding involved. I'm not too sure. It looked like a little bit of it, but as we come across the line, P1 then, but we get third in the end, I think, because of some penalties we got, I think possibly with track extensions that we did on that last lap there. But that was the kind of full gameplay at Malaysia with the F1 car, Fernando Alonso. Good to finally actually get some proper actual gameplay rather than a little snippet of B-roll we got before. So the new Grid 2019 game is less than a month away then, guys. At the very start of October, the career mode is going to be a big aspect of that for me personally. This will be part of it, this car, getting this car, that'll be part of a journey, because like I said, there's an Fernando Alonso racing kind of thread or level in the career mode. Essentially, you've got all these bunch of kind of different tiers of different kinds of motorsport, different kinds of cars essentially, and in those kind of tiers and levels, you have these different little championships. Once you've done it, I believe it's the majority of 3 out of 5, I think it was, if I remember correctly from the devs, what they mentioned before and what they've released in terms of trailers. If you do like 3 out of 5, you then unlock the kind of boss championship race at the end of that tier, and then if you complete a majority of those boss entry tiers, you're then leveled up to the kind of ultimate grid showdown, which is going to include Raven West, which is the kind of old classic big boss team from the original grid way back when. I don't even know what year it was. It's going to make me feel very old, and maybe some of you guys old, but yeah, looking forward to it. And let me know, guys, if you do want to see plenty of Grid 2019 gameplay, maybe from it when it releases. I would be maybe interested in maybe doing a bit of a little career playthrough. It kind of depends on maybe how quickly I can get through it, because obviously you guys know it's a bit of a meme now at this point. But yeah, most of the time when I do other games on this channel, I do eventually just stop doing them, because one, it just doesn't pique my interest sometimes, and two, generally speaking, also it's just more worth my time to do more F1 videos, because obviously that's what most of you guys want to watch compared to those. So sometimes I don't finish career modes that I start on other games, but this one, since we do have an F1 car to aim for at the end of one of the tiers of the championship, the career mode, maybe it's going to be worthwhile. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. But guys, this has been this video today with the Fernando Alonso's Renault of 2006 in the Grid 2019 game. If you guys did enjoy the gameplay, then be sure to hit that like button. Like I said, big thanks to Veloce Esports and Fernando Alonso's Racing Esports team for capturing the gameplay and lending it to me for this video. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been Fernando. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.